This conference will now be recorded.
All right, guys, as always, everything that I'm going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. All right, so I usually only, and I just said in the chat room, but I usually only post content in here because most people that, are going to watch a video really can't even pay attention for 90 seconds, let alone for somebody to talk about something. But I feel the need to say this. So I was just driving home, and I want you to understand this is my favorite time of year. Everything I do throughout the year is based off family. That's what my driving factor is. It's my fiance, soon to be wife. It's my daughter. Those two people are my go-go juice. And I just watched something yesterday, and go-go juice, whatever. But I want you to understand something. I was driving home, and I just felt so blessed. And I know we moved our meeting to 2:30 because guess what? I had something to do. But Christmas time, Hanukkah, holiday time, it magnifies everything that's going on in your life. And I want you to understand, I had this such amazing feeling. A Christmas song actually came on, and just this amazing feeling that came about me. But then immediately what I ended up doing is I started thinking about the beginning of my trading. And I'm Christian, so I do celebrate Christmas. And it doesn't matter what you celebrate, whatever, your holiday, but this is just one of my big holidays. And I remembered the times and the turmoil of when I was actually learning how to do this, when Christmas time was coming. And like I said, this is my favorite time of year, not having a peace of mind. It was just, it's hard. It really is. But I thought about for a second, what if I didn't decide I was going to be a trader and I would have ended up doing something else? There's no way that my family, myself, or anybody around me, my Christmas would ever be the way that it is. So I feel I have this feeling of being blessed. I want to tell you guys another thing. Okay, I don't, I probably said this before, but one of the first things that I do every single morning that I wake up, okay, is I list the things I'm grateful for. Okay, and this, obviously it comes up because the fact that it's the holiday time, and that's when people really start thinking about their emotions. But the thing is that every morning I start by thinking of what I'm grateful for. Is it possible to have a bad morning or start your day off in a bad place when that's what you do? It really isn't. So I just want you guys, especially the beginning traders, the people that are in the beginning of their career, I want you to understand, I know what it's like. Okay, but if I did not push through it, okay, I would not have been in my car today. I would not have been driving with, and first of all, it's 60 degrees in New York. So driving with my windows down, because after it's -5 degrees, 60 degrees feels like you're on a tropical island. So that feeling, that never would have happened if I didn't push through. So I just want you guys that, especially coming into a new year, and I know, a lot of people, we start to think about what are our goals that are going to be coming up as we get into this new year. And I just want you to know, it gets easy. And I don't want to say easier, it actually gets easy, but it takes that push through to get past that point where you want to throw a monitor to the ground and you want to break a keyboard. All right, so one thing that I do challenge, I don't care what religion, care what you celebrate or what it is, but at some point today, I want you to think about what you're grateful for. And then I want you to think about the things that make you, that you're grateful for, are always great catalysts to work hard to accomplish something. Okay, so then after you figure out what you're grateful for, I want you to think about, coming into this new year, how much work it's going to take to provide and do everything for the things that you're grateful for that you could possibly do. All right. By doing this, I mean, I personally, it's a terrible thing, but the human mind doesn't care about itself. So as humans, we don't care about ourselves. We'll care more about letting somebody else down than we do about letting ourselves down. So it's always easier to find that thing out there that you're grateful for, that thing that you love, the thing that's above yourself, and really focus on that within your trading. So every time that it's late at night, and I know Davis posted something, I think it was like 6:45 on a Saturday morning watching trade. I want you to think about, every time you don't feel like doing something, think about that thing that you're grateful for. And I want you to understand, it gets easy, not easier. It literally gets easy. So I'm done with it. Well, gratitude is, I mean, blessed. I call it blessed. All right. But I was not blessed in the beginning of my trading career. It was a ton of work. It sucked. I remember the Christmas, well, in my case, the Christmases where there were things that people wanted, I couldn't do it. And that's a shitty feeling. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a college student or, before I had my daughter, my little sister was one of the biggest, influences in my life. So I always wanted to make sure if she wanted something that I could get it, and I couldn't always do that. But it gets easier. And that's what trading actually allows us to do is change our lives in that aspect. And once again, money is not everything. I really want you to understand that. Money is not everything, but it helps. It really helps, and it makes holiday times easier. You don't have to worry about somebody wanting. And guess what, guys? Number one stress in people's life is what? When it comes down to it, number one stress is what? Money. That's it. So if you really think about it, don't get me wrong, I'm sure you could find things to be stressed out about and be angry about and everything else, but most of it comes down to money, and trading just gives us that ability to not have to worry about it. And I just, the sun's out, it's 60 degrees, and don't get me wrong, when it goes from -5 to 60 degrees, you're going to be happy no matter what happens. But that feeling that overcame me when I was sitting, when I was driving home in the car, it hit my heart. It really hit home. So I wanted to tell you guys about it. All right, another thing too, before I'm done with my emotional rant, but I'm very thankful for all of you as well, and I really do want to say that because I know people are going to be gone, especially for the rest of this week, the next week going into the new year and everything else. But guys, I am 100%. I am very grateful for every single one of you, and I want to let you guys know that. And I'm going to be here to make sure every single one of you that want to put the work in will succeed. So I want to make that promise to you, and that's my promise going into the new year, just like it has been for the past 5 years that ATC has been open. All right, let's talk about some trading. So ITCI. Actually, I'm not even going to start with ITCI. I'm going to start with SRPT. So SRPT right now coming into the afternoon, I hate because I cannot and will not trade a stock that has this low a volume with this big of a range. But guys, what were those prints at 133? What were they? What did they have to be? They had to be a short. Guys, what happened? What happened immediately upon the open? We got a huge pull-up before the open even happened, okay, where we saw that, the little bit of buying that was coming back in. Buying that was coming back in. That little bit of selling that was coming back in. It was a little bit mixed, and it was very hard to see actual prints that came in. But guys, what do we talk about all the time? We focus on the number one person. We find that position. That's the person we're following. So we get a trigger to the downside, and could it get any easier? I mean, there literally was not a point where you could even take off of your position. Okay, you couldn't even set a point because the stock just kept falling back down. And I said this in the chat before, and this is another thing that when you guys are learning that I want you to start thinking about, is that there's certain situations where I know something's 70-30. So 70-30, in my opinion, that means that I'm gonna go with the 70% part. But there's also things that we talked about in the last Traders Exchange, as well as we're talking about right now. There's things that are 100%. It just doesn't make any possible sense for that person with that much money to do something. And that's what we got shown. And look what ended up happening. That's what I'm saying. It didn't bother shaking at all. I don't care what happened after this went up. We know 130 psychological level that we're going to have to start taking some off. Guess what? The second time coming in, we didn't really get a great trigger anywhere for an entry. And then by the time we get back close to a double bottom, the puzzle just doesn't make as much sense and the probabilities go way down. So it was kind of hard to take that second one. But the first one, guys, I mean, come on. This was just nothing. I even posted up there. It was like 135.50, I think it was, or 135, somewhere in that area. But we saw a print come out, and I said it's going to affect it way more because we saw the way that it was printing, and most of the bigger prints that were coming out were all coming out through smaller prints. So even getting something to print over 1,000 is a huge deal, and then it ended up dropping, what, another $5 from there? So guys, it was just when you find those things, and don't get me wrong, once again, I'm realistic. I could pretend here that everyone should have had that trade and everything. That would be way better for marketing if I did say that, but that's not true. This is way above a lot of people's levels. So if you didn't trade it because it's above your level, congratulations. That discipline, it's very hard to not trade something that you're not really capable of trading yet. Okay, so yes, it was a very easy trade, but at the same time, remember, you might take this thing could pop up $8 on you. Okay, so very high probability, but if it was above your level, I don't blame you at all. I just, as of right now, 1.7 thousand shares trading per minute, I can't even look at it. So ITCI, let's talk about this. All right, so coming in, we knew that it needed to be well, it didn't need to be, but more than likely we were going to see an exception come into it. And I told you guys in the pre-market that an exception, I don't treat anything as an exception. I don't care. Even if I know it needs to be an exception, I do not treat it that way until it shows me that that's how I should treat it. So during the pre-market, if something shows it should be an exception but hasn't yet, I trade it 100% on the rules. And if we actually look at it this morning, it was a perfect trade. Davis actually called out a price target before we even started. What was the price target? 23.50, because we know if it went a further away, it needs to go below 23.50. Okay, and when we say it needs to, remember those, when the stock is going up like that, that was more than likely profit taking. But when we saw a bunch of other selling that was coming in to show us that it really should come down, and then those prints that came in at what, 130 at 24 that came in, the thing definitely needs to pull back underneath that 24 because that's just not enough to build. And that was an incredibly impressive position to take when you see these orders out here and how big the spread was getting as we were coming back in. So I believe that they really do want to build a lot more than they did. So I'm a little hesitant to thinking for the longer term for us to keep coming up. And if it does, great. But if it doesn't give us a perfect case scenario to take a trade, guys, and it moves $50 away from where we could have taken a trade, is that a trade? We were talking about it before. No, absolutely not. God, technically, I took this trade on the upside trade on a lot of feel. And one of the big variables that I really liked was the fact that it held this print line. So when we were coming back up right here, okay, you can see if I go in. So if you see right here, holding this print line, I really liked because it gave it the volume to come underneath. But if you look, the volume bar went lower, and then we went even lower into that. And the next one, we got basically a mini volume dip that came into this. So I really liked it. So I took it there. And you know what? Was it a great trade? No, but it was still about 68 to 72, somewhere in that area. And then from there, I mean, it just, obviously just took off. And then the second entry that we're talking about right here. So we're in a staircase, right, guys? See right here? I wanted to break the consolidation. So we come up. It could have been a little bit higher, but either way, it was basically textbook coming out of another volume pattern that was just, another volume dip that we came back into. So it was 100% worth the risk to reward. And then from there, guys, it just absolutely took off. Now, at this moment, I want you to understand something. Someone asked me, it's like, well, how did you know that the stock was going to 43.56? How do you think I knew the stock was going to 43.56? I had not a clue. Nobody did. I had no idea. But guess what? When you follow the rules and you do things correctly, good things happen. It's that simple. We knew we had great buying up here near the highs of the first top. So then we got that trigger back to it. Guess what? At this point, my trigger, how do I manage my trade? When a stock starts going parabolic like this, how do I manage my trade? Well, it's very easy. As it's going up, I just set spots. I'm not willing to lose that much profit. So if it falls below it, boom, I'm out. It's that simple. Now, obviously, if I see huge selling coming in and no buying, I know that it's going to be setting up for something like that to happen. So I'm going to start taking off my exposure. But at the end of the day, I'm just setting spots. This is the easiest trades in the world to take because if it breaks a spot, you're out. It's that simple. It really doesn't get much easier than that. So ITCI, we're still going to be watching coming into the afternoon. I really wished it was going to break below this little consolidation right here, because then we 30 should be easy. Basically, this orb line at 20, I would say, let's call it 27.50. would be very easy as well. So right now, it's not a lot going on. And once again, we know we got to make our money early, which this morning gave us. I mean, between SAVA, between PGNX, which is jumping up on absolutely nothing as we're speaking. But, this afternoon, I'm going to be very picky. It's that simple. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to trade as normal from 9:30, basically about 10:30. And then after 10:30, I'm going to be picky. I'm not going to take something that doesn't show me that really where the possibility is going to be able to go. So we'll go right. So someone take a big options call position in that consolidation. Kind of cool. Was me and me. Lie detector says it was Pedro. Okay. All right. Well, so other than that, the only two other things I'm really looking at is CLVS. So CLVS I really like. We came up to 12. The prints at 12 weren't as great as they could have been. So when we came up, we have a little bit of ask, we have a little bit of bid, but really the biggest thing that I hated was we had an ask print at 11.98, and then we had below the bid at 12, which just doesn't really help out our situation ever. So the buying at 12 is not as much as I like to, but it's got a nice trend, and we know that this thing can move, so I have to keep my eye on it. And then MBOT is still the same type of deal. The volume, I can't get behind this volume. Okay, I could before, and even here it was hard to, because as it started popping up, you could see it going down. It's just a $10 stock, 40,000 shares to me is garbage. It just doesn't mean anything like that. You're not convinced on a stock at 40,000 shares when it's $10. That's 40. It just, like I said, doesn't make sense. There's just. I need to see more. So we've seen this thing continue to move, but even if you look, I mean, the one factor that we saw is that holding on this really, really low volume, and then we got that volume push to come back up, and it's still holding on that really low volume. So, as long as it holds here, we still have an opportunity to be able to break that 10, even though the buying at 10 is really not as much as I'd like to see. So overall, I'm pretty much just watching and scanning to see for something new to come out, because there's just not really anything out there that, I'm sold on. I mean, if we go to our everyday stocks, we could look at Roku real quick. Roku's got some good volume that's coming in compared to what it was trading, but another one, like I said, I'm going to be very, very, very picky. I usually, there's sometimes I'll take a 60% trade and use some feel into it, even if I can't put the percentages. Right now, 75% and plus. So if I'm trading 75% and plus, what should you guys be trading? $100. Well, if you find 100% trade, if you tell me, I'll put my entire account into it. But at this point, yeah. So if I'm trading 75%, guys, make sure it's 85, 80, 85, 90, 95. Unless your percentages are on point, then trade what you want. You got to remember, most of the stuff that, when I say is for people, if you're on point, do whatever the hell you want. You're a trader, and it's up to you. But if I was in my beginning, let's say when I think of my beginning trading years, I think of the first 3 years. So if it was my first 3 years, I'm going to make sure that I'm in the 90s in order to really do anything. If you're 75%, then that means I'm eating. No, well, it needs to be a real 75%. It can't, you can't try to find things out there, to try to make it better for yourself. I know this meeting went a little bit long, guys, but guess what? I mean, it's so important. And once again, we come into the holiday times. I really want you guys to think about this. Okay, we talked about it in the on-site when we did the Why You Suck at Trading workshop. Okay, but you need to decide you want to be a trader. I'm going to tell you, knowing what I know now of where I've gotten to, I would hate myself for the rest of my life if I didn't push forward on those days where you just want to quit, because it's always going to happen. It's always going to happen. But where it's that invisible staircase. It's hard to understand until it happens, but the day it happens, All right, guys, so I appreciate every single one of you, every single person here. I cannot wait for this new year, because I have a million different new things that we're going to start implementing. This company is going to change a big time, okay, but only for the better. Okay, you're obviously still going to have the same exact, same teaching, but we're gonna do some real good things. Can we do a goals thing again soon? Absolutely. We could do any. Guys, Traders Exchange is an hour of your time. You tell me what you want to go over, and that's what I do. So we can go over on Tuesdays at 12:30, well, for the most part, anything that you want to go over, I'll be happy to talk about. All right, guys. So this is going. No, well, I'll be here tomorrow morning, and I'll be here all tomorrow. But this is going to be one of our last meetings before we go into the new year. I know a lot of people are just aren't going to be here. You know, things going on, family time, and believe me, family time is the most important thing in the world. So if you don't watch one recording over the next week, don't blame you, because guess what? Family, in my opinion, is the most important. Family and friends are the most important things that we can have. That's where we need to put our time, and this is the season to do it. I love this time. This is my favorite time of the year. So thank you guys all once again, and I will talk to everyone in the chat. Happy trading.